Hey y'all, welcome back to One Direction Deep Dive, where we talk about anything related to One Direction. I am your host, Kayleigh, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the final two world tours of One Direction. So go ahead, grab your snack, grab your blanket, and let's go ahead and dive right on in to today's video. All right, first, let me give you guys a little recap of what happened on last episode. So, last episode, we discussed the first two world tours of One Direction, which was the Up All Night World Tour and the Take Me Home World Tour. So, if you want to learn more about those two tours, please go ahead and check out my previous video. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the third world tour of One Direction. So, the third world tour of One Direction was the Where We Are tour, and it was named that because the boys thought it was funny that they were showing up in a new state, a new country every day. And they were like, well, what's better way to name a tour than Where We Are? So that's how they came up with the name. And the tour lasted from April 25th, 2014, all the way to October 5th, 2014. Now, the whole tour consists of 69 shows that took place in Europe, North America, and Latin America. All right, so now let's move on to the set list for the tour. Now, since this was their third tour and also their third album that they were touring, the tour mainly focused on the album Midnight Memories, with some songs from Up All Night and Take Me Home, like the most popular ones, like What Makes You Beautiful, Little Things, and so on and so forth. Now, however, two of the top performances that are my absolute favorite from this whole tour in general has to be Don't Forget Where We Belong and Diana. Here, let's take a quick look at both of them.
Even if you scream and shout, it'll come back to you, and I'll be free. It's only been 4 months, but you've fallen down so far. Now could someone mislead you at all?
See what I mean? You can just see the energy that they have while they're performing, and you can just see that they want to give their fans and their audience the best performance that they can get, which also goes into the theme of this world tour. Now, for the theme of this world tour, it was bold, it was loud, it was full of gratitude, and they were just soaking up every single minute of how they were performing, since this was one of their biggest productions they have done thus far in their career. They had different types of stage elements, whether that was lighting, stairs, a catwalk, a runway, whatever you can think of, they probably had. They even had at one point something that lifts them up on the stage that they can go around and talk. They had different ramps that they can run up and down. And it was just an overall amazing experience for their fans. And you can just tell everybody enjoyed every single moment of their performances. So in my last video, I discussed the importance of the boys' clothing choice throughout the first two tours. So let's go ahead and talk about their overall theme for their outfits for the Where We Are tour. So Harry normally wore skinny jeans with flowy shirts and boots. Niall normally wore sleeveless shirts or tank tops or denim shirts and skinny jeans. Zayn normally wore all black outfits with ripped jeans, and sometimes he added like a leather jacket onto it. Liam normally wore flannels with a white t-shirt underneath and skinny jeans. And Louis was mainly graphic tees and skinny jeans. All right, so now let's get into some fun facts about the tour. So, the Where We Are tour grossed over $290 million. Let me say that again. $290 million, which made One Direction's Where We Are tour the highest grossing tour of all of 2014. Crazy, I know. And also during this tour, they also filmed another movie, and this was a concert film, and they filmed it at San Siro Stadium. And during this performance of this show, the fans had a huge fan project that you can just see that the boys were so excited to see it and very appreciative of the fans for doing this fan project. Here, take a look at it.
Yeah, I love this feeling
project really cool, just how they showed the different flags of where the boys are from and their overall experience as a band. I thought that was really entertaining. And the last and final fact about the Where We Are tour was that they had a 3-night stay at the Wembley Stadium and they sold over 240,000 tickets in 3 nights, and they sold out every single night at Wembley Stadium. Isn't that impressive? I know, I can't believe it. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the last and final tour of One Direction. All right, so the final tour of One Direction is called On the Road Again, and On the Road Again World Tour was from February 7th, 2015 to October 31st, 2015. And during this tour, One Direction went to 5 different continents, and the tour included 77 shows in total. Now, the set list for this tour mainly featured their fourth album, Four, since it was their fourth tour. And they also had some songs from the first 3 albums. So they, of course, they had like What Makes You Beautiful, Little Things, Midnight Memories, and so on and so forth. But they also had some pretty amazing performances throughout their whole tour. And 2 of my absolute favorites were Girl Almighty and Night Changes. So let's go ahead and take a look at those 2 performances.
So another toast to the good Almighty. Spring stay young, stay made of lightning. Am I the only getting older, baby? I've been thinking about lately. Does it ever drive you crazy?
See, aren't those performances absolutely amazing? Now, as you can tell from those performances, the overall theme for this world tour was very bright, fun, vibrant, and overall full of energy. And you can just see, as I've always say, you can just see the boys' personality, but you can also see that they're more relaxed and having more of a fun time that they've had on the previous tours since they have been doing it over the years. And you can also see a lot of laughs, a lot of inside jokes, and overall, I'm just having a great time as a band together. All right, so let's move on to the boys' style for this world tour. So Louis normally wear skinny jeans with sleeveless t-shirts and v-necks. Liam normally wore flannel shirts, jeans, and a t-shirt. Niall normally wore t-shirts, sometimes plaid t-shirts depending on the day, and jeans. Zayn stuck to his all black look with his t-shirts, jeans, and shoes. And Harry normally wore flowy t-shirts, sometimes rock t-shirts, also depending on the day, and his jeans. All right, so now let's get into some fun facts about the On the Road Again tour. So this was the only tour that the boys didn't film a movie, a concert film, or nothing. They were more worried about just giving their fans a great performance through everything. And also, another huge thing that happened during this tour, it's not even a fun fact, it's a very sad fact. Zayn left the band March 18th, 2015. So they didn't have time to make another movie, make another film, nothing at all, because the rest of the 4 members of One Direction had to make sure they were still giving the fans a good performance no matter what the situation was with the band. Now, if you guys want to learn more about why Zayn left the band or the overall One Direction experience of each of the boys while they were in the band and what led to the band officially breaking up and going on the 18-month hiatus that has lasted longer than they were even a band, please stay tuned for next week's episode. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed finding out more information about the last 2 tours of One Direction. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye, y'all.